I am the Mademoiselle and Sasu Deuxième Chanel Win. This is my second channel. If you're looking at this right now and you think, oh my God, Yvana changed content. No, she did not. This is my second channel. My other channels are going to be linked down below. My main channels where I do rants, reactions, commentaries. Now we're treading into the scam territory, talk about these shady people. And then my personal channels where I have the vlogs, the Mafia Speak, story times, things like that. So please subscribe accordingly. If you guys are not aware, we are going to Brazil, July 2026. If this is something that you would like to partake in, please make sure you guys head down to the description box or the pinned comment. Everything is going to be linked down below. Thank you guys so much for always supporting me and always being there for me. I cannot wait to see you in Brazil. We also have new merch in the shop. Shout out to those of you guys that already purchased the new merch. Okay. Y'all out here. Okay. Y'all paying attention. For those guys who didn't, what are we waiting for? Mine is still in the mail. It's kind of taking forever and I'm kind of annoyed about it, but thank you so much for supporting me in advance. As you guys can tell by today's title, we're going to be talking about a gad. Now, the funny thing is with the gad thing, I feel like it's probably one of the most controversial beings in Haitian folklore. You have people that are like, gads are great. Gad saved my life. I wouldn't be where I was in my life without my gad. And then you have people that are like, get a job. Now, if you guys are not aware of what a gad is, I'm going to link down below what a gad is. Now, you guys probably like, why is she saying God like that? I'm not saying God. I'm saying gad. G-A-D. In Creole, it's more like gyad, but it's G-A-D. It's very, very different from a loi, but for the most part, a lot of loi tread into gad territory. So a loi specifically is a divine being akin to God that is here on earth to help us get through the type of trials and tribulations of life, trying to get us to the light, the darkness, whatever it is that we're supposed to be at in life, and is individual to our personal journeys. A lot of people end up serving loi because of their lineage or because of traumatic events or just because one day that's what happens, because loi pick you. You do not pick the loi. That's why I always be telling y'all, every single time I used to do these loi videos, which I need to pick them back up, but every time I would do these loi videos, I'd be like, you don't just go sit there and call a loi in your closet. Like, there's times where you can just call on one for certain things. Like Papa Legba is a pretty universal one for the most part. Like, yeah, you could call on him for certain things, but it's not something that you do. They call on you for you to serve them so that they can serve you, if that makes sense. Again, talk about this all the time on this channel. Feel free to check out the videos. I'm going to link down the relevant ones down below. But in order for you guys to understand this particular story time, you have to watch the gad video. In regards to a gad, just a little quick preface, just in case you guys don't click on it. Let me just tell you right now, if you don't understand what's going on in the rest of this video, this is the only explanation I'm going to get, okay? A gad is essentially someone that has been lifted to divine properties that is kind of akin to a loi, but this person was a person. This person passed away, typically a tragic death with unfinished business, and basically now they're here to help us get to where we need to be, kind of like a loi. This is why a lot of people kind of just mix them up or just kind of put them all in the loi category because a lot of them are revered, served. For example, Marinette Boisches, Jean-Jacques Dessalines. There's another one, the one that I did a video on that basically choked me out while I was talking about her. She gonna kill me. There's a lot of different loi that technically aren't loi, they're gads, but we call them loi because, yeah, like they were regular people. That's what makes them a gad, okay? And there are a lot of people in Haiti that have a specific gad that is tied to them because of where they live. This is someone that died in their community that was highly, highly revered, highly, highly respected, who had their life taken away too soon, who was fighting a good fight. Maybe they were political, maybe they were a journalist, maybe they were a freedom fighter, whatever the case may be, and they passed away unexpectedly. So now these people basically served them. Now, it's very interesting because that's why I think a lot of people don't really deal with the whole gad thing because they're like, oh, well, they were people, so how can they be special? I mean, Catholics got the saints. Every single one of the saints were real people. So that's the best way for me to kind of, yeah, it's hard because saints technically aren't like loi because loi weren't always people. They were divine. They were spirits, okay? Especially depending on the family we're talking about, right? Like a lot of the Rada loi were African spirits. They weren't necessarily people. They transferred into Haitian voodoo. True loi are akin to Haiti. They were made in Haiti, but some of them are people. It's a lot. Okay, again, I did a whole video talking about this, right? So like I said, this video, if you don't know the differences and you haven't watched those videos, it's going to be very hard for you to get into what's going on, right? So when it comes to a gad and a law, understand that a gad is way more fiery, specifically because obviously this person is human. Okay, they were human before. They are an embodiment of someone that used to be here, which means they have the same biases as humans. They do the most. They get angry. They get happy, like just like us. They have like legitimate emotions that sometimes are uncontrollable, especially depending on the specific gad, right? So let me just say this spirit, we're going to say that this story takes place in Miami. Okay, Miami, but it doesn't matter because we're not going to stay in Haiti too long for the story. So we're going to name the main character in this story Isaac. Okay, and then we're going to name Isaac's wife Cecile. I'm just picking like Haitian ass names. Okay, so we have Isaac and Cecile. So Isaac and Cecile grew up in Miami. Okay, they were basically like, I don't want to say high school sweethearts, more like childhood sweethearts. And they ended up getting together as they got older, like I'll say like high school, and they stayed together ever since. You know, back then we had that real true puppy young love that actually lasted because, you know, nobody had anything to do. Let me stop. But yeah, they were like childhood sweethearts, went to the same school, graduated together, everything. So Isaac had the opportunity to go to the States. However, if you guys know anything about the migration process, especially when you actually do it legally, it actually takes a very, very, very long time, and it takes a lot of money. So Isaac got notice that he would be going to the United States, but he was still living life as usual. However, since he knew he was going to be going to the United States, he had to tidy up some business. So what exactly is that business? The business is the gad. Now, this particular gad is someone that had been served for a very, very long time in their community because this gad had died a very, very tragic death. They were murdered, and the murder was actually never, ever solved. So this is one of those gads that protects their community at all costs. They make sure everyone always has food, everyone always has money, everyone always has animals and stuff like that in order to take care of themselves. Make sure that they're self-sustaining. It's very funny because a lot of people are always like, oh, if Haiti's so poor, how is it that these people are feeding themselves? How are they getting money? First of all, the diaspora be spending a lot of fucking money in Haiti. That's why I don't understand why we can't own land and we can't have dual citizenship. It doesn't make sense. If it wasn't for us as the diaspora, literally, a lot of these Haitians would not survive. However, it's not just us. A lot of it has to do with the spirits. A lot of the spirits are out here taking care of our people more than you will ever understand, more than you will ever know. Like, I'm talking about, like, I've had people in my life personally tell me, like, listen, I didn't know how I was going to eat this week, but, like, I found, like, $100 under my pillow type shit. Like, that's the type of shit and the type of miracles that these gads, these lois, these God himself is doing for these Haitians, okay? A lot of it is very, very spiritual. A lot of it is like shit that we'll never be able to understand. If you ever speak to someone that was actually born in Haiti, they will tell you, like, they've seen some of the craziest things, both good and bad. So when it came to this particular neighborhood, this gad, we're going to call the gad Gary. Okay, Gary the gad. This particular gad made sure everything was running smoothly, but he only asked for a few things from every single person that was living there. Or better yet, I should say every head of the household that was living there. And this is the thing with gads, right? Gads are very, very specific, and gads are very, very low maintenance, considering when it comes to a loi, you're lighting your candles every day or every week. You're giving them offerings every day or every week, whatever. It's more frequent. With the loi, you're doing things way more frequent. It's way more ritualistic. It's way more of a personal relationship that you have with your loi. When you have a gad, on the other hand, it's more of a give me a cow every 6 months. Make sure you come do me a ceremony every year. Make sure you do this. Make sure you do. It's very different. But a gad is extremely powerful. That's why when a lot of people be like, well, ghosts can't hurt you, it depends on the ghost. A gad is at a very, very heightened spiritual level that is very akin to divine. Therefore, they can fucking hurt you. And they will fuck your shit up. That's why ghosts can't hurt you. It depends on the ghost. That's why anytime I have any type of spiritual activity anywhere, I just leave it alone. I'm not arguing with you. I ain't going back. I ain't about to do none of that shit. You got it. You got it. I'm not like, you're not about to run me. You feel me? But I'm not about to go back and forth with you either. Like, I'm not about to entertain your bullshit. This is why you got to be very careful. That whole idea, oh, well, the ghosts can't hurt you. They probably can. And they probably will. And in this case, when you serve a gad, okay, whether you think it's temporary, it's never temporary. Let me just tell you right now, once you locked in with a gad, you locked in with a gad. By game, I haven't lit my candles in 6 months. You can get away with that with a loi. You just better not ask the loi for shit. Because the loi gonna be like, you ain't like my candle. Where's my water? The fuck? What you mean you need your car fixed? Tough luck. Whoop-de-doo. With a gad, they're like, oh, You didn't give me my 6 chickens and it's been 8 months. Let me see what happens to you when I come after your kid. And this is basically what happened to Isaac. Isaac thought, oh, while États-Unis, this Haitian shit don't matter. A lot of Haitians have this mindset. Oh, all the business that I had in Haiti doesn't matter because I'm no longer in Haiti. All the shit that I've been doing here is a means to survival. I don't really give a shit about none of this shit because, okay, I'm going to the United States. So basically, he's super duper happy. He's like, yeah, I can't wait, to go to the United States. He's bragging about it. He's talking about it. And, people in the neighborhood is like, oh, okay, like, you're going to make sure you tie up everything with Gary or whatever. And he's like, what do you mean tie up everything with Gary? He's like, oh, well, like, there's no such thing as, like, just leaving your God, right? He's like, like, oh, I'm not, like, I don't believe that shit. Like, I'm going to America. Like, what are you talking about? Like, tie things up with Gary. Like, fuck Gary type shit. Everybody's like, once you got a gas, you got a gas forever, right? He's like, yeah, nah, like, fuck you talking about? Like, I'm going to America. So they're trying to tell him, like, yeah, like, you're going to America, but you're still going to have to take care of this God. Like, whether you come here physically or not, like, you still have to give your share or, like, we kind of all get fucked up type shit. And he's like, more shit. Like, he's basically like, yo, like, that's y'all problem. It ain't got nothing to do with me. So when it came to Gary the God was very, very specific. He asked for a ceremony once a year with a load of different animals. Like, I'm talking about, I don't know, snakes, lizards, all types, like, weird stuff. Like, I don't remember what it was. Just know he asked for a ceremony every year that required a lot of different animals, lots of different food. Like, it was supposed to be like more of like a celebration. It wasn't just like bring me these things to a tree. It was supposed to be like a celebration for him and what he's done for the community. Because literally, if it wasn't for Gary the God, okay, they would die hungry if it wasn't for Gary the God. Therefore, they made sure every single year they all put in their share and they all had the ceremony. The problem with Gary the God is he was very big on teamwork. And he was very on some, if y'all do not give me what I need when I need it and one person doesn't, then we're going to have a little bit of a problem here, right? So in other words, if one person doesn't put in, y'all all get fucked up, which to be honest, I don't agree with this. I think it's absolutely crazy, but unfortunately, that's just how a lot of spirits are. But again, it really depends on the spirit. It depends on the promise. It depends on the relationship. It depends on the lineage. It depends on a lot of different things. There's a lot of gods that really don't give a fuck. They have an individualistic relationship with you and they only care about what you do. While some belong to a specific family where it's like, if it's supposed to be 3 siblings that are serving this one law and one of them like just doesn't give a fuck, then both of them are going to suffer along with the person that doesn't want to do shit. Unfortunately, that's just what be happening. In this case, it was an entire community. Now, the community wasn't huge, but let's just say the community was about like 30 to 50 some odd people, kids and stuff included. So basically, word spreads that Isaac talked about something he not about to give his share because he's ready to go to America, which his share was mainly supposed to be money. I feel like what they would do was they would pool money for everything and then they would buy all the stuff. Or if someone didn't have money, they would like give a cow or something, or they would give a bird. Okay, so that's typically how it would go. He's like, I'm not gonna be out shit because I'm trying to save my money. So word started spreading and people started coming to Isaac like, yo, you're bugging. Like, what you mean you're not about to give? Like, if you don't give, then we all fucked. And he's like, that sounds like a personal problem. Obviously, yo baka pala Isaac, you gotta pala avec Cecile. So Cecile catches wind of this and she's like, you can't do that, right? Like, you about to fuck everybody over. He's like, oh, I don't have money. Where am I supposed to get money? Da-da-da. She's like, what do you mean you don't have money? Like, you got money because you work. Like, you work for my dad type shit. So yes, Isaac had a job, which is like, I'm not going to say it's rare in Haiti, but a lot of people don't have jobs in Haiti. So she was like, you got money because you work for my father. Like, Cecile's dad was actually very well off. And technically it was Cecile's family that was pulling a lot of the strings and putting a lot of the money together to get them together in the United States. It was Isaac's family, I believe, that did the paperwork and did like the legal side, but then it was Cecile's family that was given the money part. So she was like, I don't understand. What do you mean? So she's like, oh, don't worry about it. I'm gonna figure it out. Da, da, da. Like, he's really not taking this shit serious, right? So at the time, Isaac and Cecile were not married. However, they end up getting married and yeah, everything's all great. Everything's all dandy until it's not. Okay, so obviously they had to get married in order to go to the United States together because if not, it'd be harder of an application from what I understand. Like, if you're married and then if you have kids, it's a little bit easier to get in. Versus like you going and then going back for the person. A lot of couples get torn apart like that, where it's like the husband goes and then they come back to get the wife, but then they have another family in America waiting for them. Yeah. So they wanted to make sure they were married and they were able to try to go together, at least closely together. So at this damn wedding, everything goes wrong. I'm talking about they're preparing food and the food goes bad type shit. I'm talking about they're walking down the aisle and there's birds screaming. Like, I'm talking about like crows Like just loud, like loud, like to the point where like people can't even hear the music. I'm talking about it literally starts pouring in the middle of the ceremony. Now you guys are probably like, oh well, Haiti's a tropical country. That can happen anywhere. It could have happened in Mexico. It could have happened in Egypt. Y'all believe what you want. So long story short, a lot of the elders were coming up to Isaac and Cecile like, you need to give your share. You need to make sure you do whatever you can because that's the only reason any of this is happening. The reason your wedding was ruined was because like, yeah, like you didn't give your share. At this point, Isaac starts getting upset. He's like, oh, like, what mete ma di chanson moi? Which basically means like, oh, you're putting mouth in my business. Like you're putting bad words. You're speaking ill on my marriage type shit. And he ends up getting into a whole back and forth with those people. Those people start going back and forth with him. Cecile's sitting there like, bitch, this too damn much. So she goes to her family. She's like, what can I do? Can I just give his share? And from what I understand, it was a no. The share has to be directly from you. It's not one of those things where it's like, you know, you owe a loan and now your mom pays for it, or like you owe someone money and then your brother pays for it. It has no. Whatever it is directly has to be from you. Because I kind of get it though, because like the law sat here and fed your ass, made sure you didn't die, made sure you had enough this, that, and the third. And they did that for you. Therefore, you got to be the one to pay it. You got to give your share. It doesn't make sense for someone else to pay for you in that instance. That's just my personal opinion. So I kind of get that part. So basically, you know, Cecile's trying to find a way out of it. Isaac really isn't taking anything seriously, which is actually kind of crazy to me. But hey, whatever. Fast forward, Isaac and Cecile actually do end up going to the United States. Now, this is like early 2000s or whatever. So, I mean, they get to the United States and they live a great life. As a matter of fact, Isaac and Cecile end up being pastors of a Protestant church. Now, what's very funny about this is I don't understand why every single time someone's running from something spiritual, they always end up being Protestant. That's probably one of the reasons where I'm not going to hold you, like when it comes to Haitian Protestant, which means Protestant. It's very, very rare that I believe anything that they're selling to me. And it's rare that I trust any of their pastors because a lot of the Haitian pastors that I've encountered have been very fraudulent, with the exception of maybe 3 or 4 that I know personally. Like the rest of them been fraudulent. It's just like how you pushing a Rolls Royce and I'm driving a fucking like 2008 Honda. It doesn't make sense. Where's the money coming from? Like basically you're using money from the church to fund a lavish lifestyle. Like I don't got time for it. So whatever. They end up running a church. Church is super duper successful. I'm not going to tell y'all anything regarding the church or anything regarding where in the U.S. this actually, they live in their best life in États-Unis. All right. They have their church. They're helping loads of people and everything actually goes well for a very long time. As a matter of fact, Isaac and Cecile kind of like don't really care to acknowledge the God anymore because for them, they're like, you know, we don't dibble and dabble in any of that stuff right now. We're safe. Just like a lot of people kind of like be like, oh, I don't dibble and dabble in witchcraft anymore. Oh, I'm no longer into shamanism. Oh, I don't do OBI no more. I'm saved. But the problem is when you do that, you have to sever the ties properly. Like in some cases, you can do that. In some cases, you could just like literally toss everything, not go back and just call it a day. But unfortunately, in many cases, you have to sever those ties properly or bad shit starts to happen. So by this time, Isaac and Cecile end up having 4 kids, kind of. And this is why I say kind of. So they had 3 kids. They were pretty grown. I think the oldest was like 14 at this point. And Cecile was pregnant with the 4th kid. And she was having like extreme complications with this kid. It was like the kid was not growing. Like the kid was just in the womb chilling. Like it was very, very small. Like say like they were in their like, I don't know. She was in her 3rd trimester, but the baby was like as small as if they were still in the 2nd trimester. So, you know, they tried to do what they could. They tried to give her different types of options and medications to help her, telling her to do like Ayurvedic type of techniques to help the baby grow. But it wasn't really helping her. Unfortunately, she also ended up being very, very like tired and fatigued to the point where she could no longer work and she could no longer be in the church. Like it just got to the point where like she was like basically shrinking herself. It was like she was losing weight. The baby wasn't growing. And it got to a point where it got like extremely dangerous. And she had to go into emergency surgery. And the baby did unfortunately pass away. So that's why I said technically kind of 4 kids, depending on if you believe in innocence or experience. I believe in innocence. I believe like once you get pregnant with a kid, that's still a kid. You know, sometimes you may choose to not raise that kid or whatever, but they were still a kid. Okay. So it's like, technically for me, it was 4, but a lot of people be like, nah, it's 3. It is what it is. So, you know, it was a very, very unfortunate circumstance. Nobody thought about it as anything, but she was really, really sick for a very, very long time because of it. Whatever, you know, they had the 3 other kids. They decided not to try anymore. But in order to, I guess, feel better, they decided they were all going to take a family trip to Haiti. So they end up going to Haiti with the kids. And Chad, when I'm telling you, shit just gets really, really down. Like, when I'm telling you, shit goes down, 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 downhill from here. Like, they end up going to Haiti, and literally everybody's happy to see the kids. They're happy to see them because at this point it's been years. So let's say we in like 2015-ish at this point. So they never seen the kids, right? Like, by the time they left, like, I think she might have been pregnant with one. I don't remember that detail, but basically they didn't know what the kids were. Like, you know, they didn't know who the kids were. They probably seen pictures of them. So everybody was so happy. Everyone welcomed them with open arms type vibe. And there was one kid, we're going to name him Arnold. Okay. And Arnold was the middle child. And Arnold used to, like, he was very adventurous. He used to, like, really like going out. Like, he was the one that was going to the beach. He was in the mountains. He was everywhere in Jeremy with the family, whatever. So at one point, they stumble across Gary's situation, like his little, I don't know how they explain, the way it was explained to me, it was like a kaigad. That's what you call it. It's like a house or whatever that basically is for the god. But for him, it was more of like an area. It was like, there was a kaigad, but it was more of like, it was arched off. Like, there was this like, you see this chair, it was like this, and then you walked in, and then there was like the house. It was like, it was interesting. It was it looked a little weird. It looked out of place, but it looked like it was supposed to be there at the same time. So Arnold is like, oh, Sasaye, like, what is that? And they're like, oh, Gary's Kai God. Like, that's Gary's house. And they're like, he's like, who's Gary? And, you know, the person that was with him, let's just say the person was like an uncle. So uncle was like, ha ha ha, you know, you ask too many questions, you know, and he's like, I don't understand. Like, all right, could we go in the house? He said, nah. Arnold is like 12 at this point. You already know middle schoolers and how they are, just asking stupid ass questions. Okay, so he's like, what do you mean? Like, why can't we go in there? He's like, no, like, we can't, you know, like, blah, blah. So whatever, he whisks him away, and he goes and he tells his parents later on, like, oh, like, I saw Gary's house. So now the parents start getting scared. They're like, what do you mean you saw Gary's house? And you're like, oh, like, you know, I went with Uncle such and such, and he brought me, you know, to whatever. And on the way, we went to Gary's house. And they're like, don't you ever go back there. Like, they're terrified. They're like, no, don't you ever go back there. Don't you ever do that. Da, da, da. And he's like, why? It's just a house. Now, the thing is, personally, I feel like they made the situation worse. Why the fuck would you tell them not to go there? You know how kids are. If you say don't do it, they're going to do it, especially when it's something like a kai god. Okay, so Arnold goes and he tells his other two siblings. Let's say, so the oldest was a boy. We're going to name him Matthew. Okay, and then the daughter, she was the third child. We're going to name her Ashley. Okay, so Arnold goes and tells Matthew and Ashley, like, hey, yo, like, I saw this house and it looked pretty dope. Like, we should go in there. Now, the funny part about this is, if you ever been to Haiti, you either absolutely love it and you never, ever want to leave, or you hate it and you're trying to look for any semblance of of wherever it is that you came from. If you're from the United States and you've never been out the country and you never really experienced Haiti, you're going to be like, no, I need some civilization. I need this. I need that. So that house for them was civilization in a way. It was a very nice little house. It was very, very small, but it was little. Like, it kind of, I don't want to say like it wasn't as big as a cabin or a cottage, but it was kind of like, okay, let's say it was the size of a shed. It was kind of like that. It was like the size of a shed, maybe a little bit bigger. And they were like, yo, it actually looked nice in there. Like, maybe we could find some stuff in there. Arnold basically convinced Matthew and Ashley to go over there. Like, yo, like, it might be some shit in there. Why these three dumbasses go in there and get stuck in the fucking house? They get stuck in the Kai God. They're screaming. They're yelling. At this point, it's been hours, okay? It's been hours, and Isaac and Cecile went somewhere. Like, say they went to, I don't know, they went somewhere to go find stuff. They left the kids with the family. The family's panicking. They're looking for the kids. They don't know where the kids are. Now, you guys are probably like, well, Yvana, you said they were screaming. Nobody could hear it. That house is a fucking magic house, bitch. It's a magic house. I'm very sure there's some sort of soundproof that's drowning out all of their screaming and their yelling and shit. So they're screaming. They can't get out. They're panicking. They're doing all that nonsense. And at this point, everybody's like, yo, like, where the hell are the kids? Like, everybody's looking. Nobody's thinking to check Gary's house. It wasn't until maybe the next morning that somebody was like, you know what? Like, let me go check Gary's house. And yeah, they found kids basically like damn near death. Like, in the house, like, literally, like, they're, I remember the first time I heard this story, I was like, yo, people are fucking bugging. Like, they were literally, like, they were dehydrated, they were tired, they were scared, they were going off, you know, they open the door, they run out, everybody's screaming, everybody's yelling. It was this whole big thing. And let's just say it's safe to say that Cecile and Isaac were pissed the fuck off. Okay, they were going up like, "Oh, how the fuck could you leave the kids like that? Oh, y'all was just trying to sacrifice our kids." You already know. Okay, y'all know how the religious people are. Okay, so they're sitting there, they're throwing all types of accusations. They're trying to sacrifice the kids. They did that shit on purpose. They're holding on to a vendetta, and they need to let it go. So at this point, everybody's like, "Fuck is you talking about? Like, ain't nobody trying to do nothing to these kids. Like, your kids went in there willingly after y'all told them not to go." So they're like, "Nah, we don't want to hear it. Da da da. No one like I." So, yeah, this a long ass story. Like, now that I actually think about it, it's actually longer than I thought. I thought it was gonna be a shorter story. So we're gonna make this a two-parter. All right. So make sure you guys head down to the description and or the pinned comment for everything you guys always ask me about down below. And then make sure you guys subscribe for part 2. If you guys are on the Patreon or the membership, you already got it. So I'm see y'all next time. Bye.